Yeah, first thing is to thank all of our fans that were at the game on Saturday. It made that a great atmosphere. So we appreciate that. It was a really good football game for a big chunk of it, and we made a few too many mistakes that we needed to not be able to make in certain situations to give ourselves a chance to win. So turn a page forward. We got to play a lot better this week. Go on the road. What will be a difficult environment on a Saturday night and against a talented team that will play hard, and they've got a lot of really good players and do a lot of good things. So big challenge, and we got to get ready for it.
Jay, I asked you Saturday night, and you said you need to look at the film. Curious what that film told you about the offense, and if you have any concern with those guys and Caden Anderson in particular.
Well, a concern over Caden Anderson in particular, no. Was it his best Saturday night? No. I think he would tell you that too, that he can play better, needs to play better. There's a few times that, a couple things, ball placement or some things that I think that he would rather have back, and do that. I think what happened, in a lot of situations, first of all, a lot of credit to Utah in the fact that they challenge you at all three levels throughout the game. And so, this doesn't, they don't just have a good front and they play soft zones or something, or they, aren't good. They're good across the board. And so, there's a number of plays out there that we have we had some good performances Saturday night offensively, and that was the hard thing, because then it would be mixed in with a spotty, intermittent, poor performance by a particular player or a particular situation. The sack fumble, we just hit a 32-yard play to Sam Harris, and we're on their side of the field, and we have a really good play call going to run a dig with Jalen Sargent. They're in a 3-deep zone. Jalen Sargent's wide open. Caden Anderson's about ready to put the ball on him. It's going to be a 15-plus yard play. Get hit from behind, sack fumble. You know what I mean? So you got to win that. We got to win that spot, and that's that's that fine line to it. To all of a sudden now you could be first down at the 32 or deeper with under 4 minutes to go and a half. And so you look at all those little things that way. I think that whether it's finishing a route the right way, ball placement, protection at a certain point in time. Just all the little things, making a cut where the hole is instead of kind of guessing where that'll be and that type of, just a lot of like individual things. And that was the thing to it. It wasn't just like this one position group just crapped the bed and didn't get anything done. It was, there's kind of a shared to it, but it was also, intermittent. Like we had a lot of run plays, the offensive line doing a really good job on and got movement. And then, we would get a few yards. And then we didn't make enough guys miss at times. Teron did, Sam Harris did, some things that way. So just a combination of things. We have to get better. We have to get a lot better. We're aware of that. And, that's the challenge this week, and to do that on the road. So,
Jay, how are you kind of preparing for what you might see out of their quarterback situation?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think, obviously what they've done with, Ryan Staub, he's kind of, look at him and watch him on video. I think he's kind of a cool presence and gets the ball out and gets the ball to, people accurately and do that. I think with, Caden Salter, there's an added element of athleticism to it. We got to prepare for all of it. I don't know that they alter their offense dramatically between each one. I mean, obviously it could be a little bit different focus, but we got to get ready for multiple different things. So,
Coach, how good can these big non-conference games be for your young team?
Yeah, well, okay, so just like what we're going to have to do today when we come in a team meeting today is that we've got to go and own up to the things where we fell short. In the second half defensively, our communication wasn't near as good. And in particular the fourth quarter. it's a 10-0 game with a minute 50 to go in the third quarter, and they got 3rd and 21, right? And we have a breakdown, okay? And then there was other times in that second half where, from a communication, from a kind of urgency of play, that we weren't what we needed to be. So the big thing that we've got to do, and even from an offensive standpoint, about like where we are on certain routes and what we've got to do in terms of how we're finishing plays. The lessons from Saturday night are very, very important for us going forward this week, and then when we start conference play. Like that's the emphasis that they made to the staff. Even is like, hey, we don't want to see these same things this coming Saturday in certain situations, and then we've got to make sure that the lessons from this past game and the one that we're about to play, that when we go flip a page and start conference play, that it gives us a great identifier of, okay, in critical situations, this is what we are best at. This critical situations, these are the people who are best at doing it. And that was one thing that you'll learn a little bit of as a coach Saturday night too, is, when it becomes fastballs coming back at you, some guys swing a little bit better than others, and so that's something that you kind of learn too. And so, we've got to get better, and there's a lot of areas to it. These games will help us improve if we take the lesson that we just had this past Saturday night and improve from it, about how critical communication is, how critical that your own individual job is, and those types of things.
Jay, a couple for you. Do you have a status on John Michael Gillenborg? And we didn't see Dion DeBlanc in the return game, and I'm hearing that he might be accepting or taking a redshirt year this year. Well,
so for John Mike, first of all, we'll kind of see where he's at today, tomorrow. I anticipate him playing. I don't. It's a thigh bruise type of thing. That can be painful. It can be difficult to kind of work through, and we'll kind of see, kind of be able to feel midweek where he's at. I don't think he'll practice today, from what my understanding is. As for Dion, look, that's I communicate and talk with our players on those things. He and I had a conversation. That's not to say that he will redshirt, but for where we were at in the plays that we were using him, we get 4 games. And we got to look at it and just say, okay, did we want to use them all 1 through 4? And then once you go to number 5, like he's used a year. And I've been in situations before as a coach, and it used to be if you played a play, that was a season. All the way back to where I was at Southern Illinois and when I was at Minnesota, in a couple different instances, where a guy would finish his career playing really well, and he was out of eligibility, and you look back on it, and he played 58 plays as a true freshman on kickoff, return, or something, and that was it. And you're sitting there going, did we really help ourselves and that player? And so there's kind of a, I wouldn't say that that's the end of Dion DeBlanc as far as this year. Obviously, we still have 2 more games that we can utilize him in, but he may not redshirt at all either. A lot of it's just based on his growth, and then also a tangible role. It's hard for me to look at a guy and go, hey, we're playing you 5 plays a game, 8 plays a game, and you lose your year of eligibility. So there's and look, I would anticipate a couple of our freshmen doing some things this week and playing and being in certain roles. And like I said, we've got 4 games to kind of toy with that, and we'll go.
So would this be your decision, or was this Dion coming to you?
Well, it's a little bit shared.
Yeah.
It's a little bit shared. He came to me about kind of his role and everything, and about the concern. I think he just thought he'd play games 1 through 4. I made the decision just to say, no, we're not playing you this week, because I want to kind of, look, we play him 1 through 4, and the next thing you know, game 8, that we've got a couple receivers that have injuries, and now you need him, and now you're like, okay, we're either spending this year or we're not. So I wanted to be judicious with what we're at. Right now, Eric Richardson's healthy. Right now, Jackson Holman will be healthy this week. He missed last week. Michael Fitzgerald's healthy. Clay Nanke's healthy. There's a lot of guys healthy, and so you got to be kind of conscious of that. And look, I know people on the other side of it could say, well, in today's world, how long do you keep them? I can't worry about that right now. We have to kind of do what's best for us and the player too.
Caden is still a young and developing quarterback. How big are the lessons from Utah in his development, and what are some of the lessons you expect him to take from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, number one is the exactness that we would have had to have played with the other night. I mean, as far as everything, we had to be really high level the other night to have success, and so we couldn't afford we had to complete balls at a higher rate the other night. We had to put balls in better spots. He'll learn that, and there's also certain things about look, there's still certain receivers that we're still getting a feel for in the program too, a little bit that way, and so that'll continue to develop. I don't think that there was any kind of residual from the previous week with him. That wasn't an issue there at all, and like I said, we give Utah credit in the fact that they made it difficult for us to string things together, and that was the biggest thing to it. We would get a couple plays, we kind of get some things moving, and we get the ball to the 21-yard line. We take look, now taking the 15-yard lost sack, it's like this is 2 weeks in a row that we've taken big sacks, and that one took us out of field goal range. We could have been sitting in a tie game at the end of the first quarter. And so, yeah, he's got to learn from that. And so there's little lessons like that within those games that become a big piece to it.
Jay, this game's been sold out pretty quickly when they announced it and put tickets out. What are you doing this week to kind of prepare for the environment down in Folsom?
I mean, we'll do kind of the same things that we always do, in the fact that we'll do some things offensively with noise. We'll do some things that way. Look, it's a great atmosphere. It is. We've went other places, though. I mean, we went to Texas, and that's a great atmosphere, and we went to BYU, and that's a great atmosphere. I mean, so it's not like this is the first time we've seen it. Now, look, I think it'll be a great atmosphere, and I think they'll do their fans they'll make it difficult for us and those types of things, but it's not like, you do the things that you need to. First thing we need to do is just worry about us. And that's the biggest thing. Look, regardless of who we play, and it's the same thing, and you even ask our players, we have the same kind of motto throughout. It's never about who we play, it's about how we play, and if we play really well Saturday night, then a lot of the crowd won't be a big factor to us. If we don't play really well Saturday night, then it'll be really loud all night. And I think that's a big piece to it. But whether we play Northern Iowa, whether we play Utah, whether we play Colorado, we can only concern ourselves with us. We assume we're going to get the best shot from every team we play. That's what you assume. But we have to focus on us, and we have a lot of things that we need to get better at within ourselves from a fundamental standpoint and communication, and just the little things that kind of cost us a little bit in situations the other night.
How important is it to this offense to get somebody going opposite Chris Durr, and are you happy with the way the wide receivers are progressing right now?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to get everybody going right now. I don't think we have not played well offensively yet to the expectation of what we could. Now, I could look at that and, I'm not going to rationalize anything about it, but there are probably quote unquote reasons to it, and to some degree, in the fact that you have a number of players that are either new or, new to their position even. Like Jack Walsh is getting better. He actually played pretty good the other night. He's a new center, right? Okay, he's played for a long time. Well, his learning curve will go quicker at his position change because he's kind of been in there. Caden Barnett's the same way. Caden Barnett played pretty well the other night. He went from tackle to guard, and he's got a lot of experience. Okay, great. Evan Svoboda, he's getting better, but his was a bigger learning curve because he didn't go from playing tackle to tight end or something like that. He went from quarterback to tight end. So there's a progression there that still has to come along, and we have to realize that to some degree. But we have to be better. We are not where we need to be offensively yet, and we need to get that fixed ASAP. And so that's something that, and there's a variety of different things to it, but that's what we got to go from.
I feel like Evan Eller maybe flew under the radar a little bit during the spring and fall. Has he surprised you at all through the first couple games?
His level has been better than what I even thought it would be, from, where he was a year ago to where he is now. It's a huge leap, and that's a credit to Evan Eller. It's a credit to Coach Bowl too, but it's a credit to Evan Eller. He's our best communicator. Okay, there's a drop off right now. Like with Ethan Stolzatz, I expect a lot out of Ethan Stolzatz too. But when Ethan Stolzatz comes in, our level of communication goes down. Okay, so we got to get that right, because he's got an ability to be a good player, but he's got to be able to do these other things to the level Evan Eller does. Evan Eller's playing really well and doing that, so that's a big piece to it.
Jay, it took almost 15 minutes to get a question about Deion Sanders. Curious what your thoughts are on facing Coach Prime, and how much have you asked Coach Flea about this guy?
Well, no, I haven't asked a lot about him or anything like. First of all, the guy's a football icon. That's, and look, I admire Coach Sanders for his personal belief and where he wears his beliefs, out in the open, on his chest, on his sleeves, the whole deal. And look, I love the fact that so much of it's faith-based, so much of it is, it's a really good message that he constantly gives. And so I admire the guy for his kind of the philosophy that he has as a coach. And you also then admire the guy for being one of the greatest players that ever play the game. So, no, this will be exciting. But when we get down to it, like I said, I think a while back when someone had asked me a question, we're very lucky that it's not me playing him. So we're in a good spot. So.
Third career field goal block for Anish. Obviously, first one here. What makes him so disruptive? And I think you talked a little bit about just how seriously these guys take special teams.
Yeah, we blocked a kick in each game, so that's a positive. I don't know if I can expect that every single week, but that's been a great thing. But what happens is, I think a lot of it is how hard you compete for every play. And I appreciate Anish right now. Anish is playing pretty well. He played fairly well the other night. Him and Ben Florentine were really good the other night. But Anish has been, this has been very thankful that he's here, especially when you have two other guys that are out for the season and everything that way. But he had pads down, ran his feet, hands up, got the block. But that's an effort level play, and that's what he's been doing a really good. He is dramatically better than what he was in the spring, just all the way around. So I'm really happy for him.
You touched on Kelman and Harris doing some good things at running back. And in the spring or in the fall, you talked about, wanting to see a 20-carry guy, 10-carry guy, maybe a 5-carry guy. Right now you're playing 4, and they're all about 9, 8, 7.
Yeah, we got to look at that. Here's one thing that, I made a point, coming out of the game with our offensive coaches too, is the fact that Sam Harris touched the ball 11 times the other night. We had 105 yards on those 11 touches. So, you got to look at that, and you got to say, okay, if we're getting 10 yards a pop. It wasn't carries. He also had a 32-yard catch in there, but he also had a 4th down catch for a 1st down. So you got to look, this is what comes out of playing Utah, right? This is what comes out of playing Colorado is, you're going to look at some of these situations and like Sam Harris belonged playing against Utah the other night. There wasn't any doubt about that, and so we got to keep building and keep going with that. Teron Kelman, he looked natural on the field against Utah the other night. Sam Scott had some runs, but he didn't really have a lot of opportunity and everything. And we think Sam's a good player too. So I think the focus is going to be kind of in that 3-person space right there. But I think what happens is when that's a critical thing. Defensively, there's things in there where you look at certain players and certain things and go, you know what? When it came down to it, and it got down to it in a critical situation against Utah, this guy struggled. Okay, well, that's a great reminder for us that when it becomes a critical situation in a conference game down the line, okay, well, we've seen this, so let's make sure that we're aware of what this guy can or cannot do, or can he meet this challenge.
And obviously more plays offensively will help.
Yeah, that would definitely help. We didn't meet the criteria that we needed to the other night to win. We were -1 in turnovers. We were much worse in conversion downs. So we weren't able to keep things going offensively. We weren't able to get them off the field defensively. And we gave them a short field to create a touchdown. And we also took ourselves out of a potential opportunity to score before the half. So when you look at all those things in combination, for us to really, really, really make that a tight game in the fourth quarter to pull an upset or whatever, we didn't do the markers that we needed to throughout the course of the game.
Jay, since you arrived, your nickels have been making plays, whether it's Rook Brown or Keon Baker or Glinton. Is Desmond Hearns kind of fallen into place there? And why have your nickels been able to be so advantageous when it comes to turnovers?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's kind of what we ask them to do. We put them in a lot of different spots. And so I think it's a good position in this program. That and Mike Linebacker are kind of two of our, bigger, like if you want to, we should be able to recruit nickels pretty well. We should be able to recruit Mike Linebackers pretty well. We went in on a visit over the weekend, Mike Linebacker, and it's like, this is a pretty easy sell for you. It's a great atmosphere, and we have year after year an all-conference guy. Like, this isn't hard. So, I think the same thing when we get to the nickel part. I think Dez has a chance to be maybe the best of that group because he's the most physical and probably has the best burst of them. Keontae and Keon weren't as physical. They were more third corner-ish, and Rook is more safety-ish, and I think Desmond has a better combination of all of it.
Charlie Conan's been getting in, feels like quite a bit more. Is that maybe just a testament to what he's kind of been doing in practice every day?
Yeah, he does it right. That's a big part of it is that doing it right, play after play after play, rewards you with playing time, and that's something that he's done a good job for us, throughout the year, and his effort level on plays that he doesn't get the ball is a huge piece, because if you have 70 plays of an offense in a game, if a guy had 7 catches, it'd be like, man, he had a really good day. He had 7 catches. Well, there's 63 other plays. It was, what do you do when you don't get the ball, right? Charlie's done a great job with that.